The Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke. When the days were completed for their purification according to the law of Moses, they took him up to Jerusalem to present him to the Lord, just as it was written in the law of the Lord. Every male that opens the womb shall be consecrated to the Lord, and to offer a sacrifice of a pair of turtle doves or 2 young pigeons in accordance with the dictate in the law of the Lord. Now there was a man in Jerusalem whose name was Simeon. This man was a righteous and devout, awaiting the consolation of Israel, and the Holy Spirit was upon him. It had been revealed to him by the Holy Spirit that he should not see death before he had seen the Christ of the Lord. He came in the Spirit into the temple, and when the parents brought in the child Jesus to perform the custom of the law in regard to him, he took him into his arms and blessed God, saying, "Now, Master, you may let your servant go in peace, according to your word, for my eyes have seen your salvation, which you prepared in the sight of all the peoples, a light for revelation to the Gentiles and the glory for your people Israel." The child's father and mother were amazed at what was said about him. And Simeon blessed them and said to Mary his mother, "Behold, this child is destined for the fall and rise of many in Israel, and to be a sign that will be contradicted, and you yourself a sword will pierce, so that the thoughts of many hearts may be revealed." There was also a prophetess, Anna, the daughter of Phanuel of the tribe of Asher. She advanced in years, having lived 7 years with her husband after her marriage, and then as a widow until she was 84. She never left the temple, but worshiped night and day with fasting and prayer. And coming forward at that very time, she gave thanks to God and spoke about the child to all who were awaiting the redemption of Jerusalem. When they had fulfilled all the prescriptions of the law of the Lord, they returned to Galilee, to their own hometown of Nazareth. The child grew and became strong, filled with wisdom, and the favor of God was upon him. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
While reading and reflecting on these readings, came up with interesting comparisons. And I just thought I'd share a few of the comparisons with you. But before I do that, I want people that have been in Catholic education, probably from my year and below, might do this more often than the children today. But no matter what happened in school, whatever paper we used, whether we were writing a math assignment or writing an English thing or drawing a picture, in the upper right-hand corner, we had to write JMJ. Jesus, Mary, and Joseph. I don't know what would happen if I didn't write it, because I always wrote it. I'm sure they had taken a point off, the good sisters. I had the school sisters in Notre Dame for grade school. I didn't put it on the top of this paper, just so I tell you. I grew out of that habit. Today we honor the family. And the family makeup has changed since I was little, right? But there are a number of ways to have a family, and I'm not going to list them because someone would say I forgot one. But for my family, there was mom, dad, and 3 kids. No matter how you define your family, there's one thing common even with our Holy Family, and that is God's unconditional love is always given. The similarities between Jesus and Isaac, they were both only child, right? They were the only child in the family. They were a miraculous birth. Abraham and Sarah were far beyond giving childbirth, a lot like Elizabeth and Zechariah. And Mary was too young. They had both had healthy children. Abraham was not a monk. He was not a professional prophet or priest. He had no experience in the politics of the day. He was a father, a dad, who had a large clan that came with him. He was in charge of the relatives. Joseph was not a prophet. He was not priestly. He was not a monk. He was a dad, called upon by God to be the father of Jesus. Abraham had struggles. He had to move a large clan to an unfamiliar land. He and his wife had to face life childless until God intervened. And Abraham was called on by God to sacrifice his only son. Joseph had his troubles too. He was going to divorce Mary quietly when he found out she was with child until the angel of God came in a dream. And he was obedient to God. The census came and he had to take a trip. If you and I got in a car and went 90 miles, we'd have made it long before he did, because he walked. And he lost child Jesus for a little while. Imagine losing God's son. Till they found him in the temple. Another similarity with Jesus and Isaac is both were called to carry wood on their back up the mountain for their own sacrifice. Both laid on the wood. There's a point made about Mary and the sword that pierced her heart. The sword is forged by humanity's sinfulness. That stuck with me. Mary's sword, the sword that Simeon talks about that will pierce her heart, was forged by her sinfulness. Our family has the same opportunity that the Holy Family has. they made worship a priority. And each person in the family has a role. Dads have a role, mom has a role, the children have a role. They were faithful to the laws of the community. It was important to them. Did they need to do it? Not necessarily, but they did. Because they were obedient, they were righteous, and they were holy. They followed God. In our families, if someone would ask you on the street or in a parking lot or in the fellowship hall, who's number one in your life? Would God be first? Would your children be first? They put God first. Worship was important. Prayer was important. Having a relationship with God was important. Otherwise, Abraham couldn't put his faith in God. Joseph wouldn't have ever been able to say yes without having faith. The gift of us for this day is not just remembering Jesus, Mary, and Joseph, but how important they are to the life of salvation. Each family played a part in salvation history. Our families have the opportunity to have a part in salvation history if we model our lives after Jesus, Mary, and Joseph.